It's Patio Side Chats with Fernando Martinez from Chaparral Pavers with tips and advice on landscaping and gardening. Here's Fernando Martinez.
Yes, this is the Patio Side Chats with Chaparral, right here giving you tips and advice on your landscaping and gardening. This is the place to be. We got another great show for you today. The topic is landscape lighting. That's right, outdoor lighting, low voltage lighting is sometimes it's called. Basically, it's outside, safe, not line voltage lighting, and it's designed for easy install, safe outdoors. A lot of systems you can put in yourself or it can have professionally done. You don't need an electrician to do it. Landscapers can do it. And so that's what's nice about low voltage. So I wanted to talk about, basically lay out the difference between the new LED, the whole LED craze is on now, and it's definitely involved in landscape lighting. There's a lot of great LED fixtures. So I wanted to talk about the difference between LED and halogen. If you have an existing halogen system and you want to convert it to LED, very possible, very doable, not as expensive as you might think, or as hard as you might think. And also how to do a new install. If you have no lighting at all and you want to start from scratch, I'm going to tell you how to install an LED lighting system very simply, easily done. It's a very forgiving system, much easier than it used to be as far as what the wire size and voltage drop and what you needed to have at the fixture. It's much more forgiving now. And I wanted to finally talk about design and how to really design a good, effective, not really bright, light in your eyes system. So that's the show today. We're going to talk about those things, and I'm going to break it down one by one for you. So let's jump right into it. Your LED lights, light emitting diode. That's what LED stands for. And they have brought the wattages way down, and the amount of electricity used, just unbelievable how low of a usage. You can light up an entire yard with 50, 60 watts. Less than what we used to put 100 watt bulbs in a lamp in the house. You can light up almost your whole front yard with half of that with LED. It's amazing. Now, you can have fun and you can go crazy with them too, and put in a decent sized transformer and you can light up your front and the back and all kinds of fixtures and have a lot of fun with them. So the main difference between an LED system and a halogen system is that the halogens are using a little bit more wattage. So when I talk about wattage, first of all, you break electricity down, you've got amps, volts, and watts. Okay, and wattage is what's actually being used. That's what you get charged for from the electric company. And so everything as far as how much electricity you're using is measured in watts. When I talk about volts, then when they say low voltage lighting, what that does is that makes it safe so that you're not getting a high voltage, which will be a lot of readily available current moving really fast on the wire. So there's a little bit of tricks with the low voltage because you have such low voltage that you don't have a lot of play with how on long runs and wire sizes. You have to think about what size that wire is, and you don't have a whole lot of volts to lose because you will get what's called voltage drop as you're installing the lighting system. We're going to talk about that in a minute here in the new install phase. But I wanted to bring that up because your LED is using so little amount of watts that you don't get a whole lot of voltage drop. And so it makes it much more user-friendly and easier to install. So if you have an existing lighting system that you've put in a few years ago and you use high-quality fixtures, they'll go 10, 15 years. And basically, most of them were halogen systems, which is at least a step better than your incandescent bulbs, which are just the little wire inside that glows. So if you took a 100-watt incandescent bulb, you're using 100 watts of electricity to burn, one bulb and put out a certain amount of light output. When you got a halogen bulb, it's a much smaller, and halogen's a gas, by the way, and they inject that into the bulb so that it burns at a different temperature, gets really hot, puts a lot of light out. You can get about the same amount of light output with 20 watts in a halogen system. Now, if you've ever seen a halogen bulb like an MR16, they have these like little housing around it, and there's a whole series of little tiny mirrors that are polished and really reflective material that pushes that light up and out. So if you're trying to uplight a tree, or you're trying to, light up the side of a building, or go really high into a tall palm tree or something like that, the halogen bulbs were very efficient in getting a lot of light out and onto plant material or structures for outside. So they're really great, and they're only using 20 watts, and they had about the same amount of light output as 100 watt incandescent. So you're saving a lot right there. And so we use those for a long time. Very good bulbs. They're still very usable today. I mean, there's nothing wrong with putting in a halogen system other than you are using quite a bit. Like, let's say you did 10 fixtures at 20 watts. You've got 200 watts right there already with just 10 lights. Now, the LED systems, they're like about 3 to 5 watts. So even if they were 5 watts, 10 fixtures, you're only going to be at 50 watts for the 10 lights. So it's significantly less with the LED. So let's say you wanted to convert an existing halogen system to LED. They actually make those MR16 bulbs that I was talking about in halogen form in an LED version. So essentially all you have to do is replace the light bulb with an LED light bulb. Now, the good thing about halogen is the fixtures now, because LED is out, you can get halogen fixtures for really reasonable. They're pretty cheap, and the bulbs, you can get them like 10 packs, 20 packs, MR16s, and they're really cheap. The bad part is they only last about a year, 2 years, and you have to replace the bulbs. And so that was kind of part of the whole landscape lighting thing, is you put system in, say do 20 fixtures once a year, once every 2 years, you had to go through all those 20 lights and replace all the bulbs. And the LED bulbs now, well, they're not really bulbs, but the boards, they go tens of thousands of hours. So it's like basically you can go 10 years on one LED lamp, and you don't ever have to replace anything. So that makes it really convenient. So yes, you're going to pay more for the LED bulb, but if you never have to change it again, in the long run, it could end up being cheaper by the time you get done buying the halogen bulbs over and over again every year for 10 years and going out there and putting them in the fixtures, which, like most of us, even at my house, so when they get burned out, it's like, oh yeah, I'll get to that, and it gets put on kind of the bottom of my to-do list. And then a lot of times they just sit there and they're just out. And so the LED is actually pretty cool and really convenient. So what you could do with an old halogen system is take all the bulbs out. When you do replace them, go ahead and make that investment, because they're going to be probably 4 or 5 times the cost of what a halogen bulb would be to buy an LED version. But once you put them in, you should pretty much be done. I'm not saying that's the best way to get LED lighting. I wouldn't buy a brand new halogen fixture, put an LED bulb in there, and install it brand new that way. I would buy an actual LED fixture, because they make those now separate that never had a halogen bulb in them. But if I had the system already in halogen, then yes, I would replace all of the light bulbs with the LED bulbs, so I wouldn't have to buy all new fixtures and basically reinstall my whole lighting. Or even just certain ones. You might have a known issue, and a lot of times if the system wasn't installed correctly, and because what ends up happening with the halogen systems is, as bulbs burn out, the other fixtures, the voltage actually gets raised to those, and those bulbs start lasting for less time. But if you know the one that burns out, usually like how this light always goes out right here, maybe you just replace that one with the LED, and so you keep kind of keeping that the voltage. It has like a level, and this whole voltage drop thing we're going to talk about in a second. You want to keep all that kind of even. You don't want lights going on and out and then raising the voltage and lowering it. So if you want to do a brand new install of LED lighting, it's much, much easier to install now, because with the halogen ones, you really had to know and measure and really get pretty close to 12 volts right at the fixture. That's what low voltage lighting means. It's at 12 volts. Your line voltage in your house is 110, 120. If you measure it, I've seen 126, 127 volts coming in, with the new neighborhoods or with brand new electrical lines coming in. So there's a lot of voltage there. But all landscape lighting, to be safe and to be outside, needs to have a transformer plugged into a GFI plug so that transformer is GFI protected. The transformer transforms that 110 voltage all the way down to 12 volts, which in turn, when you run the wires out there, you don't have to be in conduit, doesn't have to be 18 inches down. It's nice and safe. You can run it right along a drip system or whatever, and you get this really thickly covered, what they call direct burial wire, and you run that all out to your fixtures, and you hook your fixtures up to this transformer. And back at the transformer, you can put a photo cell in there so it knows when it's dark. You can put a timer in there and have it turn off at a certain time. So super convenient. And basically all you need is an existing plug somewhere that's hopefully not surrounded by concrete, somewhere you have access to get a wire up to the transformer. And you can just install a transformer, plug it in, run low voltage direct burial wire out to where you want the fixtures, and purchase the LED fixtures and then install them. And very little, you really don't need a whole lot of thought. It used to be like you had to sit there and say, okay, I can't do daisy chaining, which meaning I can't start at the light closest to the transformer and then daisy chain my way down the run all the way to the end, because in the halogen fixture, if you're doing that, you're going to have a really bright light in the beginning and a really dim light at the end of that run. Now, I'm old school, so I still set up my systems so that they're kind of evenly spread out the voltage, so that you can either run to the middle of the run and then do a T and go back to the fixtures. Maybe if you had 6 fixtures on one run, you could do 3 on one leg, 3 on the other leg, and balance the voltage. I still like to do it even with LED, but it's less important now because the LEDs can take anywhere from 9 volts all the way up to 15 volts and still have really close to the same light output, so you can't tell. One doesn't look dim, one doesn't look bright. So that it really makes a new install just almost bulletproof. It's very hard to make a mistake because your transformer is going to be putting out 12 volts, and you run a wire out 100 feet or whatever, and whether it's 12 gauge or 16 gauge or whatever, you're going to pretty much get that voltage at that fixture that you need in that range of that 9 to 15, and it's going to give you the light output that you want. And so it's definitely something that could be done. Now, having said that, are you a lighting designer? So design is like any design, whether it's art or photography or music, or you're doing designing interiors, exteriors, architecture. It's when you're designing lighting, you really want to think about how something's going to feel, when you're walking through. The biggest tip that I can give you when it comes to design is not shining light in anyone's eyes. We've all seen these safety lights that, are supposed to chase the burglars off, and they're motion sensor activated, and you walk up and it's pitch black at night, and you walk up to the house, and then bam, you're just hit with these floodlights. That is the most, obnoxious, annoying thing. Now, I'm sure it is great to keep burglars out. I would run too if I was trying to case the place or do something like that. So there is a safety aspect of it. But the idea behind landscape lighting and lighting design is the exact opposite of that. You want it soft. You don't want light in anyone's eyes. You want it to be lit where you can see, because landscape lighting does add a safety aspect, because if the whole yard is well lit but no light in your eyes, you can still see whether somebody's there or not. In some cases, you can actually see better, because when that light, a bright light, and your eye has direct contact with the source of the light, your pupils will shrink up, and if the light turns off, or if you go into an area that's not lit by that light, maybe if it's 10, 15 feet away, you're not going to be able to see as well, because your eyes are thinking it's middle of the day, 12 noon, the sun coming down right in your eyes. And so if everything is moderately lit, your pupils will remain open and you'll be able to see a lot better, and it's much easier on your eyes, and it doesn't hurt. And so it's a comfortable. It should feel comfortable. It should feel well lit. The entry should be easily accessible. Any walkways or steps should be well lit so you can see and move around safely and get an overall feel for the yard. So take a step back, look at the yard, and think of it as a canvas. Think of it as a painting. And what you're going to do is you have this beautiful home. You've got this nice landscaping. Hopefully, even a moderately looking landscape can look really good at night if you do the lighting right. And you want to look at that palette and say, okay, I'm going to paint in some light here. How am I going to do this? How's it going to look? How's it going to feel? So your entry points, like I said, the walks and all these things should be the brightest points of the lighting design. And then there should be the farthest reaches of the property. And hopefully, like if you do good landscape design as well, you'll have tall things in the corners. And we kind of call those anchors in design, to where you're kind of anchoring and you get some height, so maybe you have tall trees in each of the corners of your home if you're lucky enough to have that, or maybe another one in the middle, and you can get some lights to light up tall and light up the corners. So now the yard feels big and spacious. If you do all the lighting in just one area at night, it's going to feel really small. And so you want to start by highlighting all the entries and the walk areas, highlighting the corners and the far reaches. And if there is anything tall that's available there, like tall trees, and the corners are absolutely great. I love lighting tall trees and corners because it makes the yard feel big, makes it feel tall, makes it feel spacious. And so you start there. I mean, the most obvious thing is uplight the trees, path lights on the pathways. It's kind of landscape lighting 101. So, but even a basic system, if done simply and effectively with just some of these tips that I'm telling you, it's going to look really good with very little effort. And then you can get more into, fancier lighting design, techniques and different types of fixtures, because there's all kinds of fixtures out there. You want to think about, if it's a backyard, are you going to be barbecuing? Can you see the barbecue? Do you want maybe a couple lights just on a switch just for an area where you're going to want more light if you're eating outdoor at night, or if you're barbecuing? You may not want those on all the time. Certainly can be done. Hot tub areas where you want to look at the stars sitting out in the hot tub at night. You don't want a bunch of bright lights all around that. You want to be able to do that. Now, lighting design with LED has gone over the top. There's so many things that you can do now, and the transformers have gotten much more powerful, much more friendly as far as zoning. You used to be able to just, all the lights were on one basic switch, this transformer, and it went on, went off. That was it. No real choices. With LED, you can have different lights coming on, different zones you can have dimming capabilities. So if you wanted some areas to be bright, some areas to be dimmer, you can change it. You can have themes. There's colors available now for LEDs. So there's just so many options with LED. The price does start to go up. The more options you get on these, just like anything, and it gets kind of option crazy these days with all these materials that we're putting in. And so I didn't want to overwhelm you with options today, but I wanted to give you kind of a basic understanding of lighting design and kind of how to get it in there. And then, yes, the sky's the limit on design. You can just go crazy to your heart's content. And so that's kind of really what I wanted to talk about today, was just, if you don't have a lighting system, oh my gosh, it's huge, big difference with one as opposed to not having one. And then when you do have one, if you have an existing system that's halogen, we're talking about converting it over to LED, and how simple it can be with LED to do a new install if you don't have a lighting system. And then kind of talking about these design techniques and getting just a basic design, get it in your yard, and you will see huge dramatic results, and it's absolutely amazing. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about solar lights and then more about what fixtures to buy.
You're listening to Patio Side Chats with Fernando Martinez from Chaparral Pavers on California's Central Coast. Here on 1240 AM and 99.5 FM, KSMA.
This show is brought to you by Airval Block. Concrete paving stones or pavers are not all created equal. Airval Block pavers are created from a dry mix of gravel, sand, cement, and color. With very little water used, they're super strong. They won't crack or fade. And to be an Airval Block paver, the gravel and sand come from right here on the Central Coast, supporting our local community. Airval Block is the only local manufacturer of concrete masonry products like pavers, mortarless retaining wall blocks. Airval Block products are high quality for peace of mind, and there are many colors to choose from. And if you're not sure which products you need or how to use them, you will always get expert advice from the staff at Airval Block. Products made on the Central Coast for the Central Coast. Visit their fully landscaped outdoor showroom to see the many ways you can use Airval Block products at number 1 Suburban Road in San Luis Obispo. Or go online at airvalblock.com.
If you're thinking about installing a new paver patio or paver driveway, check out Chaparral Pavers online at ilovetocomehome.com. Serving the Central Coast since 2001, Chaparral Pavers will work with you to get it right and complete the job to your specifications, as customer service is king at Chaparral Pavers. Paver driveways are stylish and durable and guaranteed to never crack. If your old concrete driveway or entryway is a hazardous cracking mess, it's time to call Chaparral Pavers. Go to their website, ilovetocomehome.com. You'll find all the information you need. Check out photographs of past installations and reviews from Central Coast residents who have used Chaparral Pavers. And don't forget, all installations are guaranteed for the life of your home. So check out Chaparral Pavers online at ilovetocomehome.com. Chaparral Pavers, they'll make you love to come home. Now, back to Patio Side Chats with Fernando Martinez from Chaparral Pavers on KSMA.
Okay, we're back, and we are talking about landscape lighting, LED, halogen, converting halogen to LED, new LED lighting installs, and a little bit about design of how to design a lighting system. So, as promised, I wanted to talk about the solar lights. The bottom line is that for me, I don't like them. There's just too many negatives. They don't really outweigh the positives. You've got fixtures that, I don't know, to me, I haven't really seen where a fixture that I like, that's pretty, that's well built, well constructed, that lasts a long time, and the color of the light is really blue, not that warm yellow light that I love. The positive side is that they're very cheap and, of course, cheaply constructed, but there's no wiring necessary. So they're very easy to install. I would rather see you have something than nothing, but that would be my least favorite of all the landscape lights. Fixtures to buy, stay with a good high quality LED fixture that's wired, so they're reliable. They come on the same time every night. They last the same length of time, and you should be able to get a 10-year warranted fixture for a pretty reasonable price. They're very easy to set up. If you want to go solar, put solar on the roof. If your house is already on solar, you're golden, you're good to go. So I would go with a wired LED 10-year fixtured light and do a real simple basic design like we talked about, with the corners of the lot lit, height, entry areas well lit, easily seen, and no light in anyone's eyes. And they keep it simple, clean, and effective. Get your question answered on the air. If you have a topic you want to talk about, catch us on Facebook at Chaparral Pavers. You can message us there. If you miss a show or want to hear some previous shows or any part of this show, you can always go to the website, ilovetocomehome.com. It'll link you up to the YouTube, and you can listen to the shows there. And, of course, you can always catch us right here every Saturday at 12 noon. So we will see you next week for another great topic. Have a good week.
This has been Patio Side Chats with Fernando Martinez from Chaparral Pavers. Go to ilovetocomehome.com to find out more, or call 805-588 6917. And be sure and tune in next week at this same time for Patio Side Chat here on KSMA.